Imagine this. You've just finished a book, a crucial report for work, or maybe even just a really interesting article online. Someone asks you about it later, maybe the next day, and you draw a complete blank.
It's frustrating, right?
Oh, absolutely. Or, maybe you pick up that book you've been meaning to read, full of good intentions.
Yeah.
And after just a few pages, your mind's already wandered off. The phone buzzes, you think about your to-do list.
We've all definitely been there. But what if reading wasn't just about, absorbing information? What if it was actually this powerful catalyst for your mental well-being, for personal growth, even a secret weapon for success?
That's a really exciting way to frame it.
Well, today, our mission is to take a deep dive into exactly that. The habit of reading, make time for books, personal growth, and learning.
Okay.
We're going to unpack the surprising science and some really fascinating ancient wisdom, too, behind why reading deeply can genuinely transform your life.
And presumably how to actually build that habit so it sticks. Exactly. How to cultivate a reading habit that actually works for you, and the concrete strategies you can use to make every single page count.
Right.
We want to make sure that knowledge doesn't just pass through you,
Right.
but it truly gets through to you.
The transformative power of reading beyond just information.
Okay, so let's unpack this first part. We often think of reading as, well, pretty simple, right? Just consuming words. Maybe to pass the time, gather some facts.
That kind of a passive activity sometimes.
But the truth is, it can be this profoundly transformative act. It's about so much more than just grabbing information. Active reading, and that's the key term here, active reading, not just scanning. It brings this whole cascade of incredible benefits. We're talking about really improving your learning retention.
Which is huge.
Huge. Increasing your reading fluency, boosting your vocabulary, that one's pretty obvious maybe, but also enhancing memory, gaining critical thinking skills.
Yeah, critical thinking piece is so important.
It really is. It deepens your ability for self-directed learning and just makes you way more engaged in discussions.
Yeah.
If you're not actively engaging, even reading for fun can start to feel a bit, well, flat, like a chore.
Yeah, you lose the magic. And what's really illuminating here, I think, is how this connects to that idea from Mortimer Adler.
Oh, yeah.
The point of good books isn't how many you can get through, but how many can actually get through to you.
That's such a great line. Get through to you.
Exactly. It's not just clever phrasing. It's the fundamental difference between just consuming words and truly absorbing them. That active absorption, that's what lets knowledge build up, like compound interest.
Compound interest for the brain.
I like that. Precisely.
Yeah.
And you see this principle with people like Warren Buffett, right? He famously spends something like 80% of his working hours just reading or thinking.
80%. Wow.
Yeah. So for you, the learner, engaging actively means you get more of those aha moments, those times when a concept just clicks.
Right. It really sinks in.
And you gain a much deeper understanding without feeling totally overwhelmed. It's all about the quality of that engagement, how it shapes your comprehension, and crucially, your ability to actually use what you've learned later on.
That idea of knowledge compounding, like interest, is really fascinating. And you know what's even more surprising? Maybe.
What's that?
People have been using books, using reading for healing and mental well-being for literally thousands of years. This isn't some new age thing.
Not at all. It's got incredibly deep historical roots.
Tell us a bit more about that history. It sounds amazing.
It really is. This concept of bibliotherapy, basically using books for healing, it's ancient. Like, imagine walking into a library in Thebes. We're talking around 1250 BC.
Wow, okay.
And over the entrance, inscribed in stone, were words that translate to something like, "This is medicine for the soul," or "healing place for the soul."
Medicine for the soul.
Yeah.
In a library.
Exactly. It wasn't just a place to store scrolls. They actually envisioned it as an intellectual pharmacy, stocked with remedies for emotional troubles.
That's incredible. They saw reading as actual treatment.
It points to this really radical insight from centuries ago, doesn't it? That real healing isn't just about fixing the body, but supporting the whole person mentally, spiritually. A holistic approach we're still kind of striving for today.
Absolutely.
And other ancient civilizations understood this too, maybe more implicitly. The Greeks, for example, they used tragedies in their theaters quite deliberately to induce catharsis in the audience.
Like a release of emotion.
A purification, a release, yeah.
Yeah.
And the Romans believed reading certain speeches, orations, could actively improve mental health.
So it wasn't just about entertainment or politics.
No, there was a perceived therapeutic benefit. Then you fast forward to the medieval period and you see these ideas continuing. in Cairo at the Al-Mansur Hospital in 1272 AD.
Okay.
Readings from the Quran were actually part of the medical treatment plan alongside things like music therapy for psychiatric patients.
Really? Integrated into the hospital care?
Yes, it reflected this deep Islamic cultural tradition of caring for both body and soul. They even offered free care and, get this, compensation for patients after they were discharged.
That's amazing humanitarianism for the time.
It really was. And then, later during the 17th and 18th centuries, you get these progressive thinkers. Samuel Tuke in England, Pinel in France, Chirughi in Italy.
Right, the reformers.
Exactly. They spearheaded this movement for more humane treatment of the mentally ill. And a key part of that, making books available to patients. A huge contrast to the, frankly, harsh and often superstition-driven treatments before then.
So books became part of creating a more healing environment.
Definitely. And this approach crossed the Atlantic. Benjamin Rush, an early American physician back in 1810, was explicitly recommending reading for people with mental illness.
Okay, so it took root in the U.S. too.
It did. And later, in 1853, another physician, John Minson Galt, he really articulated the benefits clearly. He listed 5 key things.
Like what?
Well, occupying the mind to block out morbid thoughts, being a source of comfort, providing instruction, especially if the reading was directed, demonstrating kindness from the caregivers, which is important, and just keeping patients more manageable in content. He even noted the Bible was super popular, partly for that occupational benefit, just giving people something constructive to focus on.
It makes sense, giving the mind something positive to work with.
Exactly. And then, things really picked up during World War I. Organizations like the Red Cross started setting up libraries and army hospitals.
For wounded soldiers, presumably.
Yes, for recovery and morale. And it was actually in 1916 that the term bibliotherapy first popped up formally in an American journal.
Ah, so that's when it got its official name.
Pretty much.
Okay.
And that marked the beginning of more formal academic interest from the 1930s onward in fields like library science and psychology. So yeah, it's not just a passing fad. It's got millennia of human experience behind it.
That historical journey is just incredible. Medicine for the soul. But I can imagine some listeners thinking, okay, sounds interesting, but maybe a bit abstract, or perhaps wondering about the downsides. Are there any challenges or ethical things to consider when we use books therapeutically today?
That's a really important point. It's powerful, but bibliotherapy isn't magic, right? It's not usually a standalone cure.
Right.
Especially in clinical settings, it really should be part of a broader therapeutic plan. But understanding how it works psychologically is key. And a lot of the current thinking goes back to C. Schroed's work from 1950.
Schroed's, okay.
Yeah, she outlined these 3 key stages. Think of it like a journey, from connection to clarity, and finally to action. It's often called the ICI process.
ICI, what does that stand for?
Identification, catharsis, and insight.
Okay, let's break those down. Identification.
So this is the first step. It's where you, the reader, really connect with a character in a story, or maybe with someone facing similar problems in a nonfiction book or an autobiography.
You see yourself in them somehow.
Exactly. You see aspects of your own struggles, your own situation reflected in the text. You might find yourself asking, wow, what turning points did they go through that feel like mine, or who influenced them? It's not just passive recognition, it's an active emotional connection. You recognize a shared humanity.
Okay, so you connect. What's next? Catharsis.
Catharsis. This is often described as the light bulb moment.
Yeah.
It's that powerful release of emotional tension or maybe a purification of feelings. It's that deep emotional recognition that happens after you've identified with the character or situation.
So it leads to understanding or release.
A profound understanding, yeah, or an emotional release. It's when you feel that powerful, aha, I get it, sensation. It can be a huge sense of relief or even a breakthrough as emotions you maybe didn't even realize you had are acknowledged and processed.
I can see how they would feel powerful. And the last step, insight.
Insight. This is where it all comes together for action. It's the crucial final stage. You're encouraged, maybe by a therapist or even just through your own reflection, to identify and maybe even list the solutions the character or the subject used to handle their problems.
So you're learning from their experience.
Directly. And this list isn't just, academic. It forms the basis for your own practical strategies. And the more concrete these strategies are, the easier they are to actually implement in your life.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Let's say you identify with a character who's really struggling with money worries. You experience that catharsis as you see them figure things out and overcome their challenges.
Okay.
That might lead you to a concrete insight, A specific strategy like, okay, I could try saving money by dining out less often, just like they did, perhaps. It's about translating that emotional journey into tangible steps for change in your own life.
Got it. Identify, feel the release, then figure out the practical steps.
Exactly. And beyond just that ICI process, bibliotherapy has broader benefits too. It helps you develop your self-concept, increases your understanding of human behavior, why people do what they do. It fosters honest self-appraisal, which isn't always easy.
Definitely not.
It can help you find new interests outside yourself, relieve emotional pressure, and crucially, it helps you realize you're not alone in your struggles.
That feeling of not being alone must be huge for people.
Immense. And it helps you see there's often more than one solution to a problem, and it can make you feel more comfortable talking about your own issues and ultimately plan a constructive way forward.
So it's this structured process helping you discover and apply answers. That sounds incredibly useful. But is this mostly historical theory, or is it actually being used today, like in clinics and communities?
Oh, absolutely. It's very much alive and evolving. It's applied in lots of different settings, and we can broadly categorize them into clinical and developmental approaches.
Okay, clinical first.
So, clinical bibliotherapy. This is really a hybrid field, kind of blending psychology and library science. You often find it used as a therapeutic tool within actual medical settings.
Like hospitals or clinics.
Exactly. And this is particularly important when you consider that something like 90% of mental health treatments actually happen in primary care settings, like your GP's office.
Wow, 90%.
Yeah, it's huge. So tools that can support treatment there are vital. The main therapy model used alongside it is often cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT.
Right, CBT. We hear a lot about that.
Which is all about essentially retraining your mind, changing thought patterns and behaviors to manage problems better. Think of it like retraining a muscle. Bibliotherapy acts as what's called an adjuvant therapy here.
Meaning it supports the main treatment.
Exactly. It supports treatments from doctors, psychiatrists, psychologists. Sometimes it happens in group sessions, sometimes even with therapists telling stories, especially with kids, though it's structured, not just story time. And there's growing medical evidence for its effectiveness, particularly for things like depression and mood disorders. There was this fascinating MRI study back in 2011.
Oh yeah, brain scans.
Yeah, 21 participants reading the novel Pompeii. The scans showed increased brain arousal as the story got more intense. It suggested that reading novels can actually strengthen the language processing parts of the brain.
That's wild. Reading literally changes your brain activity.
In the moment, yes. The long-term effects are still being researched, but the immediate impact is measurable.
Okay, so that's the clinical side. What about developmental?
Developmental bibliotherapy. This is what you're more likely to see out in the community, in libraries, schools, colleges, even bookstores.
So for the general population.
Right. It caters more to generally healthy populations, focusing on well-being and personal growth rather than treating specific disorders. Think shared reading groups, like the ones run by the Reader Organization in the UK.
What do those groups do?
They bring people together to read literature aloud. And studies show they have wide-ranging positive impacts, better health, improved well-being, stronger community connections through just participating.
Just reading together. That's powerful.
It really is. And we have some fantastic real-world schemes, too. In the UK, there's the Reading Well Books on Prescription scheme. It launched nationally in 2013.
Books on prescription. Sounds official.
It is. It's endorsed by the Royal College of GPs. Doctors can actually direct patients to specific lists of self-help books for common mental health issues, anxiety, stress, bereavement, eating disorders.
And patients get these books how?
They're all freely available from public libraries. It really shows how mainstream this idea has become. Books like Overcoming Relationship Problems, How to Stop Worrying, Feel the Fear, and Do It Anyway. You might recognize some titles.
Yeah, definitely heard of some of those. So it's really accessible.
Very. And it's not just formal schemes. Bibliotherapy is even popping up in bookshops.
Like commercial bookshop.
Yeah. For example, Mr. B's Reading Emporium in Bath, they offer a reading spa experience. Booksellers talk to you about your interests and give you tailored recommendations, kind of like a personal book stylist.
A reading spa. I love that.
And then there's the School of Life in London. They offer a more involved personal service. You can consult with bibliotherapists, not necessarily clinical therapists, but people trained in using literature to explore your relationship with books, find new directions, reconnect with old favorites.
So it's more about literary guidance for well-being.
Exactly. They specialize in fiction, but also prescribe philosophy, poetry, creative nonfiction. They even do couples consultations.
Interesting. So what kinds of books actually get used? Is it mostly self-help?
It's incredibly broad, actually. It can be anything from literary fiction, poetry, fables, what we might call imaginative literature,
That's what we...
to autobiographies, reference manuals, and yes, self-help books, which fall under didactic or instructional literature.
Self-help books get a bad rap sometimes, though, don't they?
They do face critique, sometimes about fostering codependency or being overly simplistic, but their widespread use, even within clinical contexts like the books on prescription scheme, shows they have a place. And think about things like The Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, a multi-authored self-help text that's been central to recovery for millions.
That's a really good point. It's clearly established in self-development.
Absolutely. So the range of materials is really vast, depending on the goal and the setting.
The science of sticking with it, building your reading habit.
Okay, so we've explored this incredible transformative power of reading, how it goes back centuries, how it can genuinely help heal and grow, but let's get real. If it's so beneficial, why is it often so darn hard to make it a consistent daily habit? Especially now, with everything competing for our attention.
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
We want the benefits, but sticking with it,
Yeah.
that's the challenge.
Totally.
And the answer, or at least a big part of it, lies in understanding the deep neurological reality of habits. This becomes your secret weapon.
Okay, hit me with the neuroscience.
Well, what's fascinating, and maybe a bit scary, is that habits form the very fabric of who we are, way more than we realize. Research suggests around 45% of our daily behaviors are habitual.
Almost half of everything we do. Every day.
Almost half, just running on autopilot. And what's more, we tend to lean on these habits even more when we're stressed or tired.
Ah, okay. So when we most need positive habits, we default to the old ones.
Often, yes. And this underlying brain reality explains why so many attempts to change think New Year's resolutions tend to crash and burn.
Yeah, the gym is always packed in January.
Exactly. And stats show something like 80% of resolutions are abandoned by mid-February. It's usually not a lack of desire or willpower. It's often just a fundamental misunderstanding of how habits actually get wired into our brains.
That makes a lot of sense. Our brains are trying to be efficient, right? Save energy by automating things.
Precisely. Habits are energy-saving shortcuts.
But if they're so ingrained, how hard is it really to break an old, maybe unhelpful one or start a brand new positive one like reading regularly? Is it just about gritting your teeth and pushing through?
Well, willpower helps, but it's often not enough on its own because it's a finite resource.
Yeah.
It's more about understanding and then hacking the system. It comes down to cracking the habit loop.
The habit loop. Okay, I think I've heard of this.
Yeah, Charles Duhigg popularized it in his book, The Power of Habit. He broke down this simple but powerful three-part neurological pattern that governs pretty much every habit we have, good or bad.
3 parts. What are they?
First, you have the cue. This is the trigger. It's anything that signals your brain to kick off a particular habit. Could be a time of day, like waking up.
Okay.
A place, like seeing your favorite reading chair.
Yeah.
An emotion, like feeling stressed. Or even just the preceding action in a sequence.
So the trigger. Got it. What's next?
Next comes the routine. This is the behavior itself, the action you take, mental, emotional, or physical. In our case, the routine we want is opening the book and actually reading.
Right, the habit itself.
And finally, the third part is the reward. This is the payoff, the positive outcome or satisfaction your brain gets from the routine. This reward tells your brain, hey, this loop, it was good. Let's remember it for next time.
And for reading, the reward could be, what? Learning something new.
Could be learning something new. Yeah. Could be the feeling of relaxation, escaping into a story, the satisfaction of finishing a chapter, or just the pure joy of a well-written sentence.
Lots of potential rewards there.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And here's the crucial part. Over time, the cue and the reward become neurologically intertwined. They start to create a powerful craving.
A craving, like for chocolate.
Sort of. It's the anticipation of the reward. That craving is the engine that drives the habit loop, often making us do it almost unconsciously. Your brain starts wanting that reward before you even do the routine.
Wow. Okay, so cue, routine, reward, leading to craving. How do we use that to build a reading habit?
This leads us to the golden rule of habit change. It's surprisingly simple, but incredibly effective. You keep the same cue, you keep the same reward, or find a reward that satisfies the same underlying craving, but you consciously replace the routine.
Okay, keep the cue and reward. Change the routine. Example.
All right, let's say your current cue is waking up. Your routine is immediately grabbing your phone and scrolling social media for 20 minutes.
guilty as charged sometimes.
Right. The reward is probably that quick hit of dopamine, novelty, connection, whatever it is your brain craves in that moment.
Okay.
Using the golden rule, you keep the cue, waking up. You aim for a similar type of reward, maybe the satisfaction of learning or mental stimulation, which also involves dopamine. But you replace the routine of scrolling with a new routine of picking up your book and reading for, say, 15, 20 minutes.
So same trigger, different action, aiming for a satisfying outcome.
Exactly. And there's another bit of neuroscience that's super relevant here for sticking with it. It involves brain chemicals.
Oh, okay. Like dopamine.
Dopamine, yes, but also noradrenaline. When we exert focused effort, like trying to concentrate on reading when we're not used to it, our brain releases noradrenaline. Think of it like a quit signal.
Okay.
As it builds up, we feel agitated, tired, and want to stop.
The urge to just put the book down.
That's likely noradrenaline kicking in. But when we achieve an objective, even a tiny one, or even just feel like we're making progress towards an objective, our brain releases dopamine.
The reward chemical.
Right. And here's the cool part. Dopamine actually decreases or counteracts the noradrenaline. It dials down that quit signal.
So achieving small goals keeps you going.
Precisely. It means setting small, achievable reading goals, like reading just 1 page or 5 minutes, or reaching that 20-page mark is absolutely critical for sustained motivation. Each little win gives you a dopamine boost that fights the urge to quit and helps you build momentum.
Micro wins fuel the engine. That makes so much sense. It's not about massive willpower all at once.
Not usually, no. It's about smart strategy based on how your brain actually works.
Okay, that's powerful. And it makes me wonder, you hear about these small changes having big impacts. Can focusing on just one habit, like reading, really trigger other positive changes across your life, like a domino effect?
Yes, absolutely. And there's a specific term for that. It's called a keystone habit.
Keystone habit, like the central stone in an arch.
Exactly that. A keystone habit is an individual pattern that, once you establish it, unintentionally triggers a cascade of other positive habits and changes throughout your life. It's the linchpin. You change that one core thing, and other things start to fall into place without you even consciously trying sometimes.
Can you give an example of a keystone habit in action?
A really famous one comes from the business world, actually. Alcoa, the aluminum company. When Paul O'Neill took over as CEO, the company wasn't doing great.
Okay.
Instead of focusing first on profits or efficiency directly, he announced his top priority was workplace safety.
Safety? That seems indirect.
It seemed totally bizarre to Wall Street at the time. But what happened was, focusing intensely on improving safety force changes and everything else, communication had to get better between workers and management. Processes had to be standardized and improved to prevent accidents. Quality control improved.
So safety improvements required fixing underlying systems.
Precisely. That single focus on a keystone habit, safety, led to massive improvements across the board. Communication, quality, efficiency, and ultimately, Alcoa's market capitalization skyrocketed by $27 billion during his tenure.
Wow. All from focusing on safety.
O'Neill understood you can't just order people to change everything. You have to disrupt the existing patterns by focusing on one core thing, and the positive effects will ripple outwards.
So how could reading be our keystone habit? What ripples could it create?
Well, think about it. You start reading consistently every day. What happens? Your ability to focus likely improves, right?
Yeah, probably.
That improved focus doesn't just stay with your reading time. It spills over into your work, making you more productive.
Okay, I can see that.
You're constantly acquiring new knowledge, new perspectives from your reading. That could spark innovative ideas for your job, your business, your personal projects.
Right, fuel for creativity.
And many people find deep reading to be inherently relaxing, a form of mindfulness. So that daily reading habit could significantly reduce your overall stress levels. Better sleep, maybe. Better mood.
Yeah, less stress would be nice.
So improved focus, more knowledge, increase creativity, reduce stress. It's this single, relatively simple habit that has the potential to unlock a whole host of personal and professional benefits. It creates this positive feedback loop that can genuinely elevate your entire life, just like improving safety did for Alcoa.
That's a really compelling vision, making reading the keystone. Okay, I'm sold on the why. Now let's get super practical. How do we take all the science, the habit loop, the dopamine hits, the keystone idea, and actually build a daily reading habit that fits into, let's face it, our busy lives? It needs to be something we can actually start doing tomorrow.
Absolutely. Practicality is key. And a really excellent actionable blueprint for this comes from James Clear. He talks about his 20 pages per day system.
20 pages a day. Okay.
It's brilliant because it's built directly on these principles we've been discussing. It's designed to work with your brain, not against it.
How so? What makes it effective?
Okay, 3 main things. First, the goal itself. It's small and unintimidating.
20 pages doesn't sound overwhelming.
Exactly. For most people, that's maybe 30 minutes of reading, give or take. It drastically lowers the mental barrier to getting started. A small, achievable goal like this minimizes that noradrenaline buildup, that quit signal, making it much easier to actually begin and keep going day after day.
So less likely to feel like a huge chore.
Right. Second key element, do it first thing in the morning.
Before the chaos of the day hits.
Precisely. Clear advocates for doing it before the urgencies of the day inevitably derail your good intentions. It's about proactively investing in yourself, making a conscious choice that this is important, even if it never feels urgent like answering emails does.
Putting yourself first, essentially.
You build your foundation before you start reacting to everyone else's demands. And the third reason it works, it adds up fast.
20 pages doesn't seem like much daily, though.
It might not feel like it in the moment, but consistency is where the magic happens. It's that compound interest idea again. Clear calculated that at 20 pages a day, he was reading about 36 books a year.
36 books, just from 20 pages a day.
Yep. That's a serious amount of learning and growth from what feels like a small daily commitment. It perfectly illustrates the power of small, consistent actions accumulating over time.
That really puts it in perspective.
And this ties perfectly into what some call the first hour philosophy.
The first hour.
Yeah, the idea of dedicating the very first hour of your day, maybe waking up just a bit earlier, specifically to activities that promote personal growth. Things like gratitude journaling, maybe some light exercise, and definitely reading.
Setting an intentional tone for the day.
Exactly. Before email, before social media, before the news grabs your attention, you're investing in your own development. It can have a huge impact on your well-being and productivity for the rest of the day.
Okay, I love the 20 pages first thing idea. To make this really concrete for everyone listening, can we maybe list out the absolute essential steps, like a checklist?
Definitely. Let's call it the Read More Checklist, your actionable guide.
Perfect. Lay it on us.
Okay, number 1, select a time to read every day. Consistency is key for building that queue. Morning is often best to avoid distractions, but find what works reliably for you.
Got it. Consistent time. Number 2.
Choose a page goal. Use the 20-page guideline, or maybe start smaller, 10 pages, 5 pages, even just 1 page. The goal needs to be easy enough that you feel like you can't say no, but also significant enough that you feel a sense of progress, getting that little dopamine reward.
Small, achievable goal. Okay. 3.
Get a book. Sounds obvious, right? But don't wait until your scheduled reading time arrives and you have nothing ready. Decide what you're going to read and have it physically or digitally ready today. Minimize that friction.
Have the book ready. Removes excuses.
4, find a place to read. Designate a specific spot. Make it comfortable. Make it distraction-free if possible. Reading in the same place every day helps solidify the habit by associating the environment with the routine. Your brain learns, this chair means reading time.
Create a reading zone. 5.
Set a reminder. Don't rely on memory alone, especially at first. Create a trigger. Put an alert on your phone. Use a sticky note on your bathroom mirror. Maybe even just place the book itself on your pillow or coffee machine the night before. Something to prompt the action.
A clear trigger. Okay, last one.
Number 6, tell somebody about your commitment. Habit change is often easier with support. Share your goal, whether it's 20 pages a day or just reading 3 times a week with a friend, family member, or partner. It creates a layer of accountability, makes the commitment feel more real, and strengthens your belief that you can actually do it.
Accountability, buddy. Makes sense. So consistent time, small goal, book ready, specific place, reminder, tell someone. That feels very doable.
It is. It's about setting yourself up for success by understanding the mechanics of habit formation.
Mastering the material, how to read for true retention and insight.
All right, so let's say you've done it, you've used these strategies, you've built the habit, you're consistently turning those pages every day. Fantastic. But here's the next big hurdle, isn't it?
What's that?
Making sure what you read actually sticks. How do we move beyond just letting our eyes scan the words to truly absorbing the information, understanding it deeply, and maybe even being able to use it later?
Ah, yes, the retention challenge. This is where we confront the common enemy.
Passive reading.
Passive reading, explain that. It's when your eyes are moving across the page. You might even be turning the pages. But the information just isn't sinking in. You get to the bottom of the page and realize you have no idea what you just read.
Oh, I know that feeling well.
Wow.
So frustrating. Leads to rereading.
Exactly. Frustration, rereading, poor comprehension, and ultimately not really learning much. Active reading is the antidote, the revolution against just letting words wash over you.
So active reading is the key to retention.
It's absolutely fundamental. It's about becoming deeply involved, mentally engaged with the text. The real power here isn't just about absorbing more facts. It's about transforming that information into your personal wisdom. You're forging deeper connections in your brain.
Transforming info into wisdom. I like that.
And this applies whether you're reading dense nonfiction, a complex novel, an academic paper, or even just instructions. It's the difference between simply seeing words and truly understanding their meaning, their implications, their impact.
That's a really critical distinction. So let's get practical again. If someone wants to shift from passive scanning to active, deep reading, what are some concrete techniques they can start using right away?
Okay, great question. There are several really effective, time-tested methods, and you can tailor these depending on what you're reading and your own learning style.
Let's hear them.
First up, identify unfamiliar words and phrases, but strategically.
Meaning?
Instead of stopping your reading flow every single time you hit a word you don't know, which can be disruptive.
Yeah, kills the momentum.
Right. Make a quick note in the margin, underline it, use a sticky note, whatever. Then, at a natural break, maybe the end of a paragraph or chapter, look them up. Or even better, try to guess the meaning from the context first. That act of guessing actually strengthens your comprehension muscles.
Okay, note unknowns, look up later, try to guess first what's next.
Number 2, make notes, outlines, or highlights. Remember Benjamin Franklin's advice.
Remind me.
Never read a book without a pen in your hand.
Ah, right. Interact with the text.
Exactly. Now, highlighting can be useful, but there's a danger of overdoing it, right? Turning the whole page yellow doesn't help much.
The highlight everything trap.
Yeah. A good rule of thumb is maybe highlight no more than 20% of the text. Even better, though, is making brief pencil notes in the margins. Or using index cards or a notebook to jot down key ideas, arguments, questions, maybe with page numbers.
Why are notes better than just highlighting?
Because writing it down forces you to process and summarize the information in your own words. Those notes then become excellent little prompt cards for review later. They condense maybe pages of text into digestible info, helping recall without having to reread the whole thing.
Processing and summarizing. Got it. Technique number 3.
Learn the main idea and key concepts. For any text, whether it's a chapter or an article, getting a firm grasp of the core message and the important supporting points is crucial for proficient comprehension.
How do you pinpoint the main idea?
Sometimes, especially in simpler texts, it's right there in the first sentence or paragraph. In more complex stuff, it might emerge over several paragraphs or even be implied. This is where making outlines, or those margin notes we just talked about, can be incredibly helpful, forcing you to identify what's truly important.
Okay. And you mentioned connecting with characters earlier.
Right. Especially with fiction or biographies, actively observing how characters or individuals overcome challenges gives you ideas for your own life. It builds confidence. If they could handle that, maybe I can handle my situation too. It connects the text to your reality.
Makes sense. Technique 4.
Ask questions, lots of them. Don't just be a passive recipient of words. Interrogate the text.
Interrogate it, like a detective.
Kind of. Asking questions brings clarity and stimulates both creative and analytical thinking. Go beyond the basic who, what, when, where, why, and how. Push deeper. Ask who else might be involved. What else could be true? Why else might this have happened?
Asking else. I like that.
Yeah. Another great technique is explanatory questioning. Turn major headings or topic sentences into questions. If a heading is major freshwater sources in California, ask yourself, okay, what are the major freshwater sources in California? And then read to find the answer.
So you're reading with a purpose, looking for answers.
Exactly. This proactive questioning helps you lock in important information and engages you critically with the author's points.
Okay, questioning. What's number 5?
Think beyond the text. Don't just stay within the literal words on the page. Expand your engagement.
Tell me more.
Well, practice making predictions. As you're reading a story, pause and think, what might happen next? Develop your ability to make inferences, figuring out what the writer is implying, but not stating directly. That's reading between the lines.
Okay, predicting and inferring. How do you get better at that?
You can practice by looking for clues and illustrations if there are any, discussing characters' underlying motivations, actively connecting the story or information to your own prior knowledge, your life experiences, or even current events. It makes the material much more memorable and meaningful when you link it to what you already know or feel.
Makes it relevant.
Yeah.
Okay, number 6.
Visualization. If you're a visual learner, definitely lean into this. Create mental images of what you're reading. Or even better, sketch things out.
Like actually draw.
Yeah. Create flowcharts to map processes, timelines for historical events, Venn diagrams to compare and contrast concepts, especially useful for science or technical stuff. You could visually track a character's journey or map out the sequence of events in a plot. This active creation really reinforces understanding and locks it into memory. It turns abstract ideas into something concrete.
Visualizing and sketching. Cool. And last one, number 7.
Write or present a book summary. This is a classic active reading strategy. Retelling a story or summarizing the key arguments of a nonfiction text in your own words forces you to synthesize, organize, and internalize the material. You can't summarize well if you haven't understood it well.
Right. You have to process it to explain it.
Precisely.
Right.
There was a great example in one of the sources. A middle school librarian started a reading challenge where kids earned badges for submitting book reviews online for their peers. They got tons of reviews each month. It shows the power of externalizing your comprehension, writing it down, telling someone about it.
Teaching it or explaining it helps you learn it.
Absolutely. And, these strategies aren't revolutionary in themselves. Many of them align with older methods like the SQ3R method survey, question, read, recite, review.
SQ3R, yeah, I remember that from school.
It was developed during World War II to help military folks quickly grasp technical manuals. These active reading techniques endure because, fundamentally, they work with how our brains learn best.
That's a great toolkit for active reading. But, even with the best intentions and techniques, there's still that huge elephant in the room. Distractions.
Ah, yes. The modern world.
Our phones are buzzing, emails pinging, notifications popping up, plus just our own internal mind wandering. How do we create the mental and physical space needed to actually focus while we're trying to do this active reading, especially if the material is complex or important?
That is a massive challenge today. The source, How to Stay Focused While Reading, tackled this head-on. It first identifies why we struggle so much to focus.
Okay, why can't we focus?
Several key reasons. First, those dopamine-driven distractions. Every social media notification, every new email gives our brain a tiny little hit of dopamine, the reward chemical. Our gadgets basically train our brains to crave constant novelty and instant gratification, making sustained focus on something like a book feel, well, less rewarding in the short term.
We're wired for distraction now.
To some extent, yes. Second, mental fatigue and stress. We're overloaded with information constantly. Add daily stress, and our cognitive resources just get depleted. It's hard to focus deeply when your brain is already tired or anxious.
That makes sense. What else?
Third, plain old environmental noise and interruptions. Background conversations, construction noise, someone walking into the room, these easily break our concentration, and it takes mental effort to get back into the flow each time.
Yeah, refocusing takes energy.
And finally, sometimes it's simply a lack of interest. If the subject matter feels genuinely boring or irrelevant to you, your natural motivation to focus is going to plummet. That's just human nature.
Okay, so distractions, fatigue, noise, lack of interest, that covers a lot. What are the practical solutions? How do we fight back?
All right, here are some really practical tips drawn from that source.
Set clear objectives. Before you even start reading, take 30 seconds to define what you want to get out of this session. Is it finishing a chapter? Understanding one specific concept? Finding 3 key arguments? Having a clear goal focuses your attention. Also, break big reading tasks into smaller, manageable chunks.
Mini goals again, okay.
2, create a distraction-free environment. This is huge. Find the quietest spot you can. Minimize visual clutter around you. Turn off notifications on your phone and computer, or put them in another room. Maybe use noise-canceling headphones or apps that block distracting websites. Make your reading space comfortable and inviting with good lighting.
Build your focus bunker.
Exactly. 3, use timers and breaks. Techniques like the Pomodoro technique are great for this.
Pomodoro, that's the tomato timer thing.
Yeah. You work with intense focus for, say, 25 minutes, then take a strict 5-minute break, get up, stretch, walk around. These structured intervals prevent mental fatigue, help reset your focus, and can actually maintain higher concentration over longer periods than just trying to power through for hours.
Work in sprints, rest, repeat. Okay.
4, practice active reading. Everything we just discussed, highlighting strategically, taking notes, summarizing, asking questions, these aren't just for comprehension. They keep you engaged. They make reading a dynamic process, not a passive one, which naturally improves focus.
So engagement fights distraction. Makes sense.
Prepare ahead. Have everything you need before you sit down. Your book, water, reading glasses, notepad, pen. Anticipate potential interruptions. If distracting thoughts pop into your head while reading, have a notepad ready to quickly jot them down to deal with later, rather than letting them derail you in the moment.
Plan for distractions. Okay.
6. Use visualization and association techniques. We mentioned visualization earlier for comprehension, but it also helps focus. Train your mind to create those mental images as you read. Also, try to connect new information to things you already know. Mind mapping can be great here too. Organizing complex ideas visually makes abstract stuff more concrete and easier to focus on.
Make it visual. Connect the dots. 7.
Read in the right format for you. This might take experimentation. Some people focus best with a physical book. The feel, the smell, no easy way to click away. Others prefer ebooks for convenience and features like search. And for some, audiobooks are key, allowing them to read while commuting or exercising. Find the format that helps you concentrate best.
Experiment with format. Good tip. Last one.
8. Set up rewards. Remember the habit loop. Reinforce your focus habit. After you hit your reading goal for the session, give yourself a small reward. Maybe it's a cup of tea, it's a short walk outside, listening to a song you love. Just a moment of relaxation. Positive reinforcement boosts motivation and strengthens that positive feedback loop for your reading habit.
Reward yourself for focusing. Love it. This whole section really drives home that focusing isn't just about willpower. It's about proactively designing your approach and your environment.
Absolutely. It's about building a fortress for your focus brick by brick.
So beyond these general focus techniques, what about specific wisdom from people who read a lot of nonfiction? They must have developed some tricks for actually remembering and using all that information.
They definitely have. Avid nonfiction readers often share some really practical, hard-won tips for tackling retention. First, engage critically. Don't just passively accept what the author says. Constantly ask yourself, okay, why are they telling me this now? What's the main point, the thesis of this paragraph or this chapter? This forces you to actively process and evaluate, not just consume.
Be an active questioner again.
Always. Another great tip is using low-resolution summaries.
Low resolution, what does that mean?
It means writing just a 1 or 2 word summary or maybe a tiny symbol next to each paragraph as you read. Write in the book, on a sticky note, or in a separate journal.
Just a word or two per paragraph?
Yeah. It sounds simple, but it forces your brain to constantly condense and synthesize the core idea of each chunk of text. It's like creating a super quick mental map as you go, which massively aids recall later.
That's clever, condensing on the fly.
Another interesting one may be counterintuitive. Read for enjoyment, not memorization.
For nonfiction, read it like a novel.
Sort of. Approach it with curiosity and pleasure, without the intense pressure to memorize every single fact and figure. Paradoxically, readers often find they retain the overall concepts and the most interesting details better this way, much like you remember the gist and cool parts of a story you enjoyed. The pressure to memorize can sometimes hinder absorption.
Relaxing into it helps it stick. Interesting.
Also, talk about what you learned. This is huge. Try paraphrasing and explaining the key ideas or interesting stories you've read to someone else, your partner, a friend, a colleague. Even just explaining it out loud to yourself.
Why does talking help?
It forces you to structure the information, put it in your own words, and immediately exposes any gaps in your own understanding. If you can't explain it simply, you probably haven't fully grasped it yet.
The Feynman technique, basically.
Exactly. And related to that, extract for conversation. As you read, consciously look for short, interesting anecdotes or general principles that you could naturally weave into a conversation later. Rephrase them in your own words so they sound like you, not like you're quoting a textbook. Maybe focus on the top 5 or 10 most interesting takeaways from a book so they stand out and don't all just blur together.
Little conversational nuggets. Smart.
A couple more quick ones. Be aware that nonfiction often uses repetition. Authors frequently rephrase key points and give multiple examples. You can use this to your advantage, maybe skim a second time just to highlight the crucial repetitions, or make notes then, rather than trying to capture everything on the first pass.
Use the author's structure.
And always fact check, especially with popular science or history. Writers can make mistakes, oversimplify, or present a biased view. A quick check online can save you from internalizing or sharing misinformation.
Good reminder. Be a critical reader.
Also, think about why you're reading. Your goal determines retention strategy. If you're reading for general knowledge or pleasure, maybe lighter notes are fine. If you're reading for an exam, a presentation, or to write something yourself, you'll need much more detailed notes, probably with page numbers for citations. And remember, knowledge you actually apply is the knowledge that sticks most deeply. Sometimes knowing where to find the information again is more important than memorizing every detail.
Tailor your technique to your purpose.
Exactly. And finally, 2 big picture strategies. Read related subjects. Don't just read one book on a topic, read several. This helps you identify common themes, see different perspectives, notice where authors agree or disagree, and evaluate their arguments more effectively. There's an adage, read 3 good books on a subject, and you'll probably know more than 95% of people about it.
Build layered knowledge.
Yes. And lastly, really optimize your intensity of focus. We talked about environment, but also think about your internal state. Block out genuinely uninterrupted time for deep reading. Avoid multitasking. Try to finish chapters or sections in one sitting if possible. Make sure you're getting enough sleep. Fatigue kills comprehension. And manage stress or anxiety before tackling a really complex or important book. Your mental state is paramount for deep absorption.
Mind and body ready for deep work. That's a wealth of practical wisdom right there. Outro. Wow. Okay, so today we've really journeyed through the world of reading, haven't we? We've seen it's not just a simple pastime, but this incredibly profound tool for personal growth, for mental well-being, for continuous learning.
And with such a rich history, too. That healing legacy stretching back thousands of years is just amazing.
It really is. And we learned that building a consistent reading habit, that thing that feels so hard sometimes, is actually totally achievable. It comes down to understanding the science, the cues, routines, rewards, the habit loop.
And the power is starting small. Those tiny, consistent goals really do add up, leveraging how our brains work with dopamine and noradrenaline.
Exactly. And crucially, we've armed ourselves, and hopefully you, listening with a whole toolkit of active reading strategies. Things like questioning, visualizing, taking effective notes, summarizing.
All designed to make sure that the knowledge you seek doesn't just flow past you, but actually sinks in. Transforming reading from just passive consumption into an active, insightful, and truly rewarding journey.
Making sure it gets through to you, as you said earlier.
Precisely. Which leads to maybe a final thought.
Go for it.
Given everything we've discussed, this incredible power of reading to literally rewire our brains, to soothe our minds, to expand our whole understanding of the world and ourselves, what neglected mental muscle might you strengthen right now just by committing to turning a few pages today? What new place could you actually go, not just in your imagination, but in the real landscape of your own life, your personal growth, if you made reading an unshakable daily practice starting now?
That's a powerful question to leave people with. What mental muscle will you strengthen? Thank you so much for this deep dive today. It's been incredibly insightful.
My pleasure. It's a topic I'm passionate about.
And thank you all for joining us. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and definitely keep turning those pages.